except, of course, for the bright white tusks. Olive and Emma, our 5-year-olds who requested elephants, I really hope you two are still awake. I know that the sunset safari is very late where you are, but hopefully you are still wide awake and watching our sunrise safari, because there you go. Sorry, it is sunrise. It is a sunrise safari. There you go. A lovely little elephant for you. Isn't that gorgeous? Have you been digging in the dirt? What a nice surprise. Oh, wild asparagus, trunk full of wild asparagus, yummy. Something that we can eat as humans as well, and a whole big mouthful. That clump is going to be obliterated, and it's gone. That clump of wild asparagus is gone. Something that Ellies very definitely enjoy. This is the same herd that we had yesterday afternoon on the sunset safari. There's a couple of really sweet youngsters that I'm hoping are going to slowly move towards us. It looks as though their general direction is straight towards the vehicle. Oh, I know the feeling, girl. I've also got a sore eye. I'll explain that story in a moment, but safe to say Dave is becoming quite the expert at eye fly removal. There you go. The accordion-like stretching of the trunk. And we spoke about how long trunks really are, and Gary was asking about that. You can see this is sort of at its, not quite at its shortest, almost though, at roughly 2 meters. If you take it from the absolute base of the trunk, if you take it from the tusks, it's a bit shorter than that, probably about just over, close to 1.5 meters. Oh, dust bath. Using her foot to loosen the dirt and her trunk to throw it underneath her. And that's, when they throw it onto their bellies like that, it's actually what lends me to the suggestion that they enjoy the feeling more than anything else. Oh, now over her back, forming a nice protective coat for when the sun comes out. I really think they just enjoy it. Hey, girl? You are beautiful. Using her heel and her toenails. Having a wonderful time. I'm just going to be quiet for a moment because you can hear what she's doing. You should be able to hear her throw the dirt when she does. Oh, distraction. I found a bulb. I found a bulb. Looks like a potato. Oh, was that not nice at all, girl? Or was it just dirty? Was it sandy? Oh, I think it was sandy. Nobody likes a crunch. Let's try that again. And a drop again. Okay, we have the world's clumsiest elephant. There we go. Well done, girlie. Oh, and it's out again. Back up and into the mouth. You've got to put it further in there, girl. There you go. That should work. Crunch. Oh. Bit of wastage happening there. Oh, no, I don't think she likes it. She keeps spitting parts of it out. Oh, sorry, girl. It must have been disappointing. I know exactly what that feels like when you take a bite of a meal that you've been really looking forward to and just isn't as nice as you expected. There are some great fundamental disappointments in life, and that is one of them. Some kind of tuber Looked very much like a potato. I have no idea which particular plant it happened to be. It could have been a bulb of an orchid or something similar. I love this herd. They are such a peaceful group. Now, walking behind us, we can't show you at the moment, but there's a little one coming. Hello, big girl. Just don't swing too fast, Dave. There she is. She just came up to have a sniff at the back of the vehicle. Her little one is going to come and give us some revs. Believe it or not, there's a baby elephant there. There it is. Oh, you're so scary. You're so scary. Oh, my goodness. I'm so intimidated. I'm so intimidated. Yes, you're very intimidating. Oh, little one, please don't scare me like that. Oh, they're too sweet when they do that. My favorite. Oh, gentle rumbles from the rest of the herd. It's a little female, that calf, interestingly enough. It's not often that the female calves do that. So she was obviously feeling particularly brave this morning. A sassy female calf. We've become something of an obstruction in this road. However, I think that Ephraim can probably move past me. Morning. And before I reposition, I'll show you exactly what I mean about my right eye. Dave very kindly saving me from the fly that flew in. He's becoming an expert in rescuing the various presenters from the insects that tend to bombard our retinas. I might need, at some point, I might need Dave to check it once again for me. Make sure we got all the fly out. I think it's just a little bit scratched. Nothing too serious. Interesting conversation that apparently happened with James, and this is an update from Deborah, our armchair traveler, and that was a description that he gave about elephants not liking bulbs, and that you apparently witnessed them digging them up and then spitting them out fairly recently with him. And the answer, Deborah, is absolutely. There are certain bulbs that they just don't like. There are also certain bulbs that I think are toxic to elephants, that they know are toxic and to avoid. And they are even more so toxic to us. But I have seen them eat bulbs before. There are certain ones that they dig up and chew with relish. And probably what happens is you'll find that they are looking for that particular type of bulb. And I'll do some research and just remind myself which one it is. It's not the Bushman's poison bulb. And I'll figure out which one that is, because I think that's what happens, is that they find a bulb, they dig it up, and then they just want to taste test and see if that's the one that they do like, and then realize that actually, no, it probably isn't, and decide to move on from there. I think the rest of the herd must already have crossed. I thought maybe the rest of them would be coming down, but I'm glad we caught the stragglers. Let's reposition ever so slightly. Terribly impressed by our signal. It's holding out spectacularly. Hello, girlie. All right. I think this little girl wants to come again. Hello. Yes, we're watching you. Yes, you're full of mischief. Distracted by breakfast. Oh, hold on. Hello. Here's a straggler. He's just going to wander across the road. Look at that swelling on his trunk. He's got some kind of mole or something. Or a growth. Almost like a wart. That's interesting. I haven't seen that before. I wonder what caused that. Maybe a little bit of a cut and an infection, possibly. I mean, it's a little boy as well. Little male with warts on his nose. That's not ideal when you're a teenage male elephant. I'm just going to shift off out of the way of this other vehicle. And while I do, because it's going to put us closer to the power line, you were actually wondering a very good question about, and one often asked by guests in a sighting such as this, and that is whether or not elephants, since we've seen them trees, whether or not they ever push over utility poles like the ones we're sitting under right now. And the answer is very occasionally it does occur. For the most part, those poles, and I can actually feel it. Bye-bye. Cheers, guys. I can actually feel it sitting underneath them. They give off they can actually make quite a noise, an electrical field that surrounds them. And I think that is what really puts an elephant off going and rubbing on them. Ellies are disappearing, so we'll just give you one last view before they do. But they do occasionally play a little bit of a role. They're far more destructive in digging up water pipes. That is where, and of course, walking over fences, as we saw this morning. I have seen other animals use them as rubbing posts, so that does occur. But generally, elephants quite good around electrical or utility poles, and telephone wires and so on. But they have to be very carefully or very well constructed. Absolutely, Brenda. I agree with you. I think that elephant looked terribly disappointed in the bulb that she managed to dig up. She got so excited, she kept dropping it and then kept trying, and it still didn't taste nice, and eventually she just got over it. I know exactly how she feels. I've definitely had those moments before. How's it? How are you? Good, thanks. Hi, guys. How's it? Any updates from that side? Okay. Perfect, thanks. Yeah, they crossed straight through us and out the other side. And Arethusa, anything? Okay, cool. All right. Thank you very much. Have a fantastic day. Cheers, cheers. Sorry? I'll say hello to Tandy. Okay, sharp. Okay, I'll let her know. Bye-bye. Tandy, of course, being our lovely chef. Question from Deb before our elephants disappear completely. Oh, we'll stop completely, just in case we're about to lose our signal. Oops, I tried to stop completely. I forgot about the slight roll forward. Deb, do I think the drought affected the taste or the nutrient contents of the bulbs? It's possible. Anything's possible out here. Maybe, like as you suggested, like an unripe fruit doesn't taste all that nice. Definitely a possibility. I certainly wouldn't be able to say no to your suggestion. However, I think it is just that particular one wasn't to her high taste bud culinary standards. Fortunately, not a problem we have with the lovely Tandy as our chef. Our Ellies have disappeared across the southern boundary, and I think I have pushed the limits of our signal right up to its final point. So why don't you head back to Brent and see what he's up to.
VM and I are checking around quarantine. Oh, yay. Now, I know a lot of you out there, VM's not sure what I've seen. He thinks it's a butterfly. It's actually a flower. So we've got quite a few little different species of flower here. And that's the wonderful thing, that after the rain, we're going to get quite a lot. So I'm going to bring you a couple. And we'll put number one there. I just saw another one down here. number 2. One of my favorites, number 3. There we go, number 3 coming. I think, one of the most beautiful and exquisite little flowers. Now.
The yellow one this side.
Jim spotted a yellow one, he says. That one, well done, Vim. That's also a very interesting little flower. So we've got 4 now. I think we can safely get a few more before we decide to chat about them. I'm looking for one more in particular. But I think that's going to occur. Oh, yes. And as always, the wonderful thing is to find something you don't know as well, so I can take it home and try and figure it out. And then we had... There we go. So we've got quite a collection of flowers, and that's all from this one little spot, which is one of the reasons I came here. So let's line them up in order. Okay, here we go. Just jump in here now. So the first one is one we've seen quite a lot of. That is the Oldenlandia, and a really beautiful little star-shaped flower. And they are a heliotrope. So basically this little guy is going to sit like this, and the sun's over there. And during the day, the flowers, just the head of the flowers, obviously I can't just move it, is just going to follow the sun really slowly, even so slow that we can't see it with the eye. And it'll keep trying to keep as much sun as possible. Now that's the Oldenlandia, and that's one I've definitely showed to you guys before. Put them off to the side. So now this is a slightly more interesting. So we have a look, we've got 2 here. Now, don't they look quite similar? So you can see the shape of the leaves is very similar, but the color is slightly different. You can see this one's got some seeds as well. So these are both indigofras. You can see the color of the flower is slightly different. So these are both 2 different species of indigofras. Very difficult. There's multiple species of them, but generally they're known as the indigo dye plants. So the roots of this particular plant species are used traditionally, specifically by the Zulus, to stain the baskets. So the roots are boiled up, and that comes out a really sort of purpley red almost color, and then that's used to stain the traditional baskets. Can also be used for colds and flus and other things. Now, this one, although it's one of my favorites, is the one that you can pretty much, there's nothing really about it. There's no special stories or medicinal uses. I just think this flower is just exquisite. And the name is also wonderful. It's called a blue haze, or an volvus. Now, you'll always find these on disturbed soil, so quite often close to roads, in erosion areas. But I just think it's very pretty. That's why I like it a lot. Here we go, and moving on to the next one. And there we go. Tiny little yellow flower. But the interesting thing about this particular plant is not its flower. It's what eats the leaves. So this is the host plant for my favorite family of butterflies, which are the acreas. So this plant is actually highly noxious. So the caterpillar phase of the acrea butterflies feed off this plant, and they sequester hydrogen cyanide. And that's what makes the adults highly noxious, and so the birds don't eat them. So this plant doesn't even have an English name. It only has a scientific name, which is Wildflower indica. Very, very cool little plant. And I always check them when I see to see if I can see a little acrea caterpillar crawling on it. So there we go. Oops, that fell down there. Now, one of the more common flowers we have, but we normally always look at the big purple one, which is nice and easy to identify, but this is an ipomea of sorts, a morning glory, but just a different one, a little one. There we go. So used for colds, flus, and all sorts of different things. Now, when I initially saw this very beautiful flower we have here, maybe I was right. I thought it was an, okay. For a second I thought I was wrong. I just think it's a slightly bedraggled flower, or the leaves are slightly bedraggled. It's been eaten by caterpillars. But this is the beginning of a wing-seeded sesame. No, it's not. It's not a sesame. The flower shape's wrong. So I actually don't know what this one is. I'm going to definitely have to hit the books when we get home to see if I can find out what it is. It could be related to the sesames. It could be it's a slight wrong shape for the polygonans. So we have a mystery flower, and definitely see if I can identify what that one is. So we're now quite high up on an open area here. So I think we're going to loop down towards the main part of quarantine, and we could find a few more flower species to show you. Lots of blue haze, that very pretty little blue flower here. So Anna-Marie says, ground hornbill. Thanks, Brent. I wanted to see one this morning. Anna-Marie, I want to see one every morning and every afternoon. So here's another one that I was looking for. It's growing in a nice little bunch, quite a lot of it around here. And this one's quite nice because I don't even have to get out of the car for it. Now, very easy one. I know a lot of our long-time viewers will be able to identify that in a heartbeat. So that's what I'm going to let you guys do. I'm not going to tell you what this flower is. I'm going to let you tell me. So if you know the name of this flower, please send me the answer. And you can do that on email via questions@wildearth.tv, or you can use the hashtag SafariLIVE on Twitter. What flower is this that I'm holding? Probably the most shown flower on SafariLIVE. And there's another one, probably the second most shown flower on SafariLIVE. I'm not going to jump out for that one. You got him there. The blue Commelina erecta. Named after three botanists, three brothers, and the two largest petals there represent two brothers who made major discoveries in the world of botany. And underneath, oh, where's my finger gone? Oh, there we go. Underneath, there's a tiny little petal underneath the staples there that represents the third brother who died before he could do anything particularly impressive. Poor guy. You'll have different flowers growing at different areas and also at different stages of the summer. And you amazingly have certain flower species that will only flower once every couple of years. Some so rare as once every 10 It's one of the reasons I love wildflowers so much. It's a constant challenge to try to figure out what's out and about that particular year. Aha! Now there is a very awesome flower. Very, very awesome flower. Oh, I'm excited, Vim. Are you excited for this flower, Vim?
Not in particularly.
Not in particularly. There we go. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Now, this is from a bush rather than from a plant. And I'm going to have to double check. I'm pretty sure I know what it is, but I'm not 100% sure. It looks like a little saffron flower. Let's have a sniff, see what's happening. Almost odorless. Vim, you want to have a smell? There we go. So almost odorless, but you can see how it's developed with this really extended section with the pollen on it to make it as easy as possible for the different insects to pollinate this particular flower. Pretty sure it's a little saffron, but I don't have my tree book with me, so I'll double check that for you guys and let you know on the Sunset Safari. So we've got 2 to confirm for the Sunset Safari. There we go. Vim is trying very hard to get you one of the biggest and most beautiful butterfly species we have here. I think he's about to land, Vim. There he is. You got him?
No, where did he land?
Okay, just there. Oh, wait, maybe. Yes, there. You got him there? A little bit to the left. There, center screen.
Oh, I got it.
There we go. That is called a citrus swallowtail. While we look at that beautiful butterfly, I Walk in the Rain, Judy and Astralina all got that flower correct. It is called a string of stars, and another name for it is a lamb's tail. Isn't that a beautiful butterfly? So I'm trying to see if I move forward or back with you, I'll get a slightly better view. No, definitely not backwards, maybe forwards. Oh, no, not really. I think we're in the best spot. There we go. It's a really big butterfly and very, very pretty, very fast flying. So well done to Vim. Probably one of the hardest of the butterfly species outside the tiny little blues to get on camera. And we can't really see, but it does have, like some of the owls, it's got eyes on the base of its wing to put off predators when it's stationary like this, but when it's moving it has a very fast flight because of course probably quite tasty to the different bird species. There we go. And as I spotted that, oh, it just never seems to end today. Let's have a look. I saw another very pretty flower. You got it, Vim?
Mm-hmm. What, the white one?
Yep.
Is
So
that the same?
that is a different white flower now, and another one of the ones I like. It's almost a semi-succulent, but it's not really. It only grows where there's quite a lot of water under the ground, and that is called an anthericum. Again, another one that doesn't really have a common name, and also one that's just very, very beautiful, and not much uses it from a human. And if we go another few centimeters, we have a different species of Camelina. There we go. So the cousin to the blue one we just showed you.
With the orange one.
The yellow there. So you can see the, oh look, and it's got a robber fly pollinating it. So you can see the exact same shape as the blue one, except this is yellow. So this is a yellow Camelina, and the robber fly has departed. So if you look carefully, there's so much to see, and a lot of this stuff has come about just because of the rain. So I'm very excited. Wildflowers are one of my favorite things out here. So while we continue to see if we can find any more flowers, species, and possibly a butterfly or three, let's go see what Jamie's up to.
And it appears as though miracles do occur. We are on the eastern edge of Juba. We have challenged Rusty, and Rusty has risen to the challenge. We have signal, we have picture. What a glorious way. And it seems as though just pushing at that little boundary, perhaps we were a bit too scared to push Rusty as far as she could go. It seems as though there might be a bit of a black hole in the middle, but we can definitely skirt the edges. So this morning, ladies and gentlemen, Rusty rides the eastern side of Juba, which is fantastic news. The sun is sort of shining, the birds are singing. Perhaps paralyzed force and gesture without motion kept us from testing it as far as she needed to go. This is wonderful news. Apart from the slight rattle that I can hear in the back, but that's okay. We'll double check that once we reach the end of our sunrise safari. How glorious it is to be here. Kathy in Nevada, I was right in the middle of chatting about the centipede and the millipede before we got distracted by ground hornbills and other such creatures, and elephants actually. They were the other distraction. Kathy, I hope you're still watching. You wanted to know the difference between a centipede and a millipede. Mr. Waterbuck, your timing is impeccable. Let's go a little bit forward, see if we can't get a nice view of this waterbuck bull. Oh, it's all right, boy. Don't run away, it's okay. Nope, he's off. He's had it. Beautiful waterbuck bull. I love that backwards over the shoulder look that waterbuck do. Kathy, shall we try that again? We tried talking about millipedes and centipedes once again. As I said, laterally flattened. There's a centipede, whilst I described millipedes sort of like a bus shape with their legs underneath. One pair of segments, one pair of legs per segment on a centipede, whilst millipedes past their fourth segment have two that stick out. Now keep an eye out for a nice example for you. The biggest difference is their behavior and their diet. So millipedes, and the reason why I'm quite happy and content to let them wander across my hands and climb wherever they would like to, is the fact that they are vegetable matter eaters. They are herbivores. And whilst they are highly toxic to eat, you don't want to pop one in your mouth and crunch through it. Not that one would be tempted to do that anyway, unless absolutely necessary. They have a cyanide-type toxin that one would not want to munch. That being said, they've got no other way of causing you any kind of harm. Now, centipedes, on the other hand, centipedes, they are tricky creatures. They are active hunters. They are predators of other insects. And in fact, there's that famous comparison between a scorpion and a centipede. It's one of those interesting examples where scorpions can feed on centipedes, centipedes can feed on scorpions, and it very much depends on the size. And occasionally they do fight to the death. They're also much faster than millipede, lightning fast, because they're active predators, and they are venomous. The difference, of course, being venom is injected through a bite or a sting, like a scorpion, a snake, or a centipede. A poison is something that has to be ingested in order to work. So I think perhaps my slight, what would we describe it as? I'm not going to use the word fear. It's not quite a fear. It's almost a fear, not quite. my slight dislike of centipedes, apprehension, my slight wariness when it comes to approaching centipedes is the fact that they can bite me or a scorpion could sting me. Whereas with a millipede, short of popping it in my mouth and chewing it and swallowing it, it's not going to do me any serious harm. But perhaps that is where the biggest difference lies. I just can't understand why I'm okay with snakes and scorpions, but centipedes seem to be the thing. I actually mentioned that I did that sleep out, and I was sitting on a log for a good hour, which I suppose in itself is a point against my fear of centipedes. Well, we use the word fear, let's just go for it. Before discovering that there was a centipede probably about this long and about this thick underneath me, and suddenly it shot out right next to me. I must tell you, if I'm completely honest, there's very few times that I squeal like a girl, but I squealed like a girl. And I levitated. I was not quite aware of just how high I could jump up until that moment. I amazed myself with the amount of distance I covered from sitting on the log to standing about 10 meters away in a very short period of time. I rivaled leopards in their charging speed. Maybe not quite, but it felt like it at the time. That, Kathy, is the difference between centipedes and millipedes. I'm just, Dave and myself, just doing a quiet cruise around up towards Buffelshoek Dam, see how far we can really push this signal thing. Oh, Michelle, I actually have an update from you. It's a bit more of an update for all of the viewers. I'm just going to try and show you that African hoopoe, but it's taken flight. Michelle, you were wondering where those lions rushed off to. You said you missed it. They rushed south across our southern boundary into Chitwa. And interestingly, I've just bumped into one of the guides that can drive there, and he said that they lay down about 50 meters in, or about 100 meters in from our southern boundary. So, you know, such is life. It's 3 males. I think it was 2 males that were walking through Djuma. 2 males walking through Djuma, responding to the calls of the 3rd, who was further south. So that is where the at least 3 Birmingham boys are. That doesn't mean that there isn't a 4th or a 5th somewhere in the nearby vicinity. That also doesn't negate the possibility of us bumping into a lion right here. They do love this Buffelshoek Dam area.
They're inside our dam. They're only about 50 meters from the Mala boundary at the moment. So they're not upon for now.
Oh, that Birmingham boy has finally left the Nkuhuma lady and moved on, and she's probably reunited back with her pride towards Simbambili. Although they did clearly, as Brent showed you this morning, they did clearly come through Djuma last night. Megan in Ontario was wondering, on the subject of our mating lions, how long will it be before we start to see signs of possible pregnancy? And the answer is about 2 to 2.5 months. So if we get a rough gestation period, because it differs from lion to lion and it differs from area to area, and captive versus wild lions, but their gestation period is roughly 100 days, so just over 3 months, and they start showing signs only very late in that pregnancy, and I would say probably sort of 2 to 3 weeks before the birth. When you really start to see the bulges, you have to look very closely otherwise, but also to that point where their nipples swell up in the way that they do and become far more prominent. So that's when we can start expecting to see signs of pregnancy from that particular lioness. That does not preclude the possibility that some of the other Nkuhuma lionesses are already pregnant. It's just that we can't see signs of it. Ouch, biting fly. And it's distinctly possible that they might be. We just haven't seen signs yet, so we might see signs of pregnancy earlier in some of the other Nkuhuma ladies. Well, this has been a highly successful morning. We've made it all the way to Buffelshoek Dam with signal. Dave is grinning in the back. I'm pretty happy as well. And we're going to say our fond farewells for now. We will catch up with you for the sunset safari this afternoon. Thank you for joining us, as always, and we will catch up with you later. Cheers, everybody.
So, as we're nearing the end of the sunrise safari, we've got one or two more flowers to show you. Now this is possibly most of any kid who's grown up in the bush, it's the nemesis. It is the devil thorn, or the duiveldoring, or the bokdoring, as Willem calls it in Afrikaans. So they don't have any thorns yet. They haven't grown. The thorns are actually the seeds. So they are, in certain parts of West Africa, even eaten in times of famine. Sorry about that, guys. And then the most interesting thing I've managed to find out about the devil thorn is there are about 12 recorded cases of this plant being used for very nefarious and devious means. They have been used as a murder weapon in 12 different cases, mostly up in West and Central Africa. So what happens is they have a very small tri-thorned little seed. It's actually 3 separate seeds that are joined together. I will try find you one once they start coming out. And those seeds are then soaked in poison and then laid on like the doormat of someone's house. So as that person walks out, stands on the thorns and is poisoned. And apparently it's a very slow and agonizing death depending on what poison's used. So the plant itself is not poisonous, but the thorns are used as a vector to poison people. And I think that's quite fascinating. I didn't know that till very recently. But as I said, the nemesis of any kid who's grown up in the bush, when you grow up in the bush, you really don't like to wear shoes. I still don't like to wear shoes, but if you tromp around barefoot, you'll have very painful feet if there are a lot of devil thorns around. So quite often they always grow in these nice big open areas, so it looks wonderful to cavort across. And it ends up being very painful. So we're going to take one last question before the end of the safari. Maybe we'll see another flower, who knows? But Michael would like to know what the name of the blue flower was. It was called a blue commelina, and we saw its cousin, the yellow commelina, C-O-M-M-I-L-I-N-A. And a very, very, very pretty flower. Now, a lot of you have been watching the safaris for a long time. You'll remember a red flower on quarantine that is invasive. Willem was just mentioning to me, the drought has done a good job at keeping them under wraps. You got it there, Willem?
It's these long ones, aren't they?
No. Behind it. Zoom. Oh, no. A little bit to the left. Oh, I can't see it now. But we'll show you on the sunset safari the red star Zena, the exotic flower that in certain wet years is all over quarantine. But if you want to see some more flowers and hopefully some big cats, join us for the sunset safari. Till then, adios.
Things. This is what happens when a very large animal decides that actually, what is a fence? Wandered straight through, and in fact straight over poor Yuri's fence line, bent completely double.
I got some conzo of like 1, 2.
Brent just updating everyone on the Game Drive channel about his lion search. Oh, this is a male elephant that has promptly walked straight over the fence, as we can see, coming out of the garden. As to where he got in, oh, I've just seen where he got in. You can see where he got in. The fence definitely wasn't looking like that before. And that is where he decided he wanted to be. And it just goes to show that when an animal really wants to be somewhere, even an electrified fence is not necessarily a barrier. And this does happen. It's really interesting. There are certain elephants, certain individual elephants, that learn how to handle electrified fences. Those fences, of course, theory, built to keep the animals in or animals out. And you can actually see his tracks. Or we might not be able to see them terribly clearly. But there's one in the road there, Dave. Here's his tracks coming out. Can you see them there? That little circle there in the damp ground. There you go. That ridge of sand, that is his back track. Little circle, yes. Well, maybe not such a little circle, maybe a big circle. And in fact, if I stand out, that doesn't make any sense. If I get out of the vehicle, you'll be able to see, you'll be able to see exactly what I mean in terms of size. I'll trace it out for you and we'll be able to see, even if we weren't able to judge the direction that this elephant was walking in, judging by very much sort of the giveaway direction of the fence. Here is his front foot here. There we are. And his back foot. Like that. Now that's the oval shape of his back foot pointing straight in that direction. So shall we see if we can track the elephant responsible for this? I actually happen to know which elephant, or I suspect which elephant it is. And I don't think we're going to necessarily find him. But it'll be interesting to follow the trail of destruction that he has wreaked on his journey last evening. Now, this is not a problematic elephant, by the way. This is not an elephant being naughty. This is just one of the things that happens in the bush. And particularly because the grass in Yuri's garden is significantly greener than the other side, so to speak, because it hasn't been, not because it's been watered, but because it hasn't been grazed upon. You can imagine how the temptation entered the elephant's mind. So not a problem elephant. There you go, look, you can see what I mean. Grass significantly, quite literally greener and longer, because nothing's been inside feeding there as they have on quarantine. So the elephant's going this way. Let's see if we can follow him. Lala, you were wondering what that fence is around. The fence is around Yuri's garden, Yuri being the landowner. And it is just a small patch of land around his house, since he does have dogs. And although his two daughters are grown up at this point, he would have been bringing them to the bush as young kids. So obviously a fence of great comfort when you have small children and dogs out here in the wild. Just a little additional safety measure. But as I said, not necessarily totally 100% effective. Right, exhibit number 2. Here we go. Here's evidence. Lucy and Chris, in terms of what Brent quizzed you guys on, and I'm sort of going to be not quite taking over his quiz, but definitely guiding you slightly in the right direction. Lucy and Chris have said a blind snake. Now, from what I hear, it was not a blind snake, although that is a very good guess. Interestingly enough, the exact same animal fooled me into thinking it was a blind snake, and I'll tell you where the difference lies. It lies in the shape of the face. So if we have a look, and I'm still following this elephant, by the way, he's wandering down this road. Well done to Hillel, Diane, Robin and Georgianne, all guessing that it was a giant legless skink. We are going to stop for one moment, giving Brent a chance to go through and see if he can find the lions responsible for calling right. Burrowing snake, oh sorry, not burrowing snakes, that's the last thing we want blind snakes. That's a flower. That hardly ever sit still. Little bee eaters. My personal favorite bee eater, also known as the springbok bird, is named for the rugby colours, or our rugby team's colours, and the way in which they duck down and then dart back up again. Aren't they beautiful? The smallest bee eater species here and a non-migratory species, so one we can see all year round. Absolutely stunning. Probably about half the size of the European or the white-throated bee-eaters that we see fairly commonly. And always together in these little groups. Bee-eaters being very sociable birds. And one thing I've noticed is that the European bee-eaters are starting to fly. They're starting to migrate already in their huge flocks. Luckily, our little bee-eaters will be here to entertain us all year round once our European bee-eaters head to the north. Hello, beautiful. Yummy. Termites. Excuse me, sorry, I've got a terrible tickle in my throat. He's after, maybe I breathed in a termite when I was down at that termite mound. Now the birds all taking advantage of the termites being out. There's even a Francolin who's just arrived as well on the scene. Hear them chirping away. Now, is this one going to respond to the calls of the others? Yep. They look quite funny when they do that. Oh! What are you chasing hornbills for, you bully? You would have guessed that a Francolin could be so aggressive. You're not even after the termites. That's not very nice at all. Interesting. I wonder what prompts that sort of confrontation between bird species. That Francolin is not in competition with the hornbill. It's after seeds and grass, not termites. There's no competition. It was just an invasion of personal space. It was like, well, I'm the king of the castle. Well, actually, I think I want to move on now. Luckily, our hornbill not terribly deterred, because when it comes down to it, in terms of flight, the Francolins are not exactly the world experts in flying. They're a bit heavy and bulky, whereas the hornbill's much more suitable for it. Look at the way he's digging down into the dirt, right up to almost the base of his beak. There, he got one. He got one. I'm not even sure that he's looking for termites. Look, I'm not even sure that was a termite. No, it's definitely termites. It's the soldier termites. Turning his head to the side in order to spot them. Oh, time to move on to the next one. A red-billed hornbill. It's a combination of... What he's doing at the moment is I think he is listening for the sound of the termites scurrying underneath. That's how he's deciding where to go. Listening and looking. And then also he's got very sensitive nostrils and nerve cells around the base of his beak. So all of that acting in combination to help him find the termites. He hasn't been as fortunate as he was just there. Oh, there we go, found another one. Stabbing away at the dirt. And I guess this must be really nice weather as well for the hornbills, because the dirt is nice and soft. So it's easier for them to dig deep. Plus the termite mounds have all been freshly added to, and it hasn't had time to set. And back again. Must be interesting. The termites probably aren't terribly bothered with his intrusion, apart from the ones that have just been eaten, of course. They'll be rather put out in their morning. But it's not like having an aardvark digging into the termite mound and absorbing or eating large numbers of termites. He's basically just picking out one or two at a time. I doubt they're going to send a mass force to go and attack him and defend themselves. But if they did, he is definitely keeping them guessing in terms of where he's going to attack next. I always feel as though they look a little bit like they're wearing pantaloons in a really old-fashioned way, the hornbills. We've just been listening to the crested Francolins squeaking away, and Katrina says it actually reminds her of a dog's squeaky toy. I couldn't agree with you more. It sounds exactly like my dog chewing on a squeaky ball. Chugga, 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 chugga. Having a long, very loud conversation with each other. Almost like they're shouting to each other across a marketplace. All right, our hornbill has finished off with his termite mound meal, despite the intrusion of the neighborhood bullies.
So we did see that incredible giant legless skink earlier on. What you spotted, VM? So there's the culprit from the tracks. Maybe they were just playing. They don't look like they've just been running away from lions. I'll get back to your question now, Ralph. Yeah, male kudu, there's a couple there. I can just see some movement behind that one. They might have been having... we have seen the big kudu bulls playing before, chasing each other around and around. So that could have been what those tracks are. You can just see their horns through the bush there. At least 3 sets of horns I can see. And Rolf was wondering, do people in Africa eat reptiles? Or in South Africa particularly eat reptiles like they do in the other parts of the world? So a lot of cultures in southern Africa will not eat reptiles, although the Bushmen, they do, quite fond. I've actually eaten quite a few different types of snakes in my years out there, including the highly venomous puff adder. And one must remember, once the head is lobbed off, it is no longer venomous. And I would say the closest meat to describe it to in consistency is chicken. But let's go see if we can get close to those kudu. So, Rolf, in parts of Zambia, different tribes will eat snakes. But as a general rule, in a lot of Africa, go back.
A little bit forward.
Here we go. Beautiful, beautiful call. And this is one of the other robin species we get here. This is the white-browed scrub robin. Beautiful, beautiful call. And he's in a wonderful tree. It's actually been pushed over by eddies, unfortunately. But it is a low-felt or Transvaal saffron. And the leaves do have a very saffron-like scent to them. You can definitely sit and listen to the robins for hours. Now, most of the robin species are great mimics, so they'll often copy other birds. There we go. So let's continue on our search for other things.
Look who it is. It is our friendly black-bellied bustard. And dare we hope that today he's going to break his pattern and call for us. A little bit surprised by our sudden arrival. I'm fairly certain it's the same black-bellied bustard we saw yesterday. At the moment, all I can hear is the squeaky dog toy sounds of crested Francolins. But I do think I heard another black-bellied bustard calling. I'm hoping that this gentleman might respond in kind. Oh, nearly. He thought about it there. I just can't quite get that imitation right. I'm desperate to show some of our newer viewers what a black-bellied bustard call looks and sounds like. If you go behind that tree and call, I'll be terribly upset, black-bellied bustard. Well, puffing himself out. That was how I found him, actually. All puffed out like that. I think just flexing his muscles and his wings. Please call, boy. I hoped if I asked nicely, he might oblige. I don't think so. We're coming right to the end of their breeding season, so we'll be seeing them calling less and less. He's puffed up again. It is like he's thinking about it. No, he's just going to move really, really slowly, like an Inyala might do. I wonder if there's not another one somewhere close to him that I haven't seen. That might explain his puffed up, almost rooster-like behavior. No, there he comes. They are really beautiful birds.
Good morning, all station.
Good morning. Turn you down a little bit.
This definitely one of the most impressive bird species we get out here. It is the ground hornbill. Massive bird. This particular individual is a male. And he's out foraging. We would have heard him calling earlier this morning. Do. And they very often call just before dawn and through dawn and through the sunrise, and they're quite silent again until sunset. Incredible hunters and renowned for their snake-killing abilities. A very interesting bird. It's one of the more endangered bird species, and mostly due to loss of habitat and the use of insecticides and pesticides. But fortunately now the laws have changed with all those things, and they are making a bit of a comeback. But there's only about 230 breeding pairs in the whole of South Africa. Oh, what's he found there? Look at that. So, I've been making some strange noises this morning to try attract birds' attention, and Shazzy in Texas is wondering why I go psh, 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 psh. In Memphis, in Tennessee, sorry, not Texas. It imitates an alarm call, and with a lot of alarm calls with birds, they'll actually come out to have a look to see what's going on. I'm just going to see if we can find this hornbill again. So they're one of the most longer-lived birds we have out in the bush. They live to about 40, 45 years. And he is carrying on foraging the thicket there. We'll see if we can get one last view. And the juveniles will spend up to about 8 to 10 years with the adults. And the males are the ones that leave their natal flock. So it's not uncommon sometimes to find groups of 5 or 6 ground hornbills together. And the females will actually take over mom's mantle, so to speak, in the chief breeding position. And all the other females will just hang around and look after mom and the babies Oh, he's going into some thickets there now, unfortunately. So the males will migrate between different groups. So being very long-lived, those daughters have to wait quite a long time, and obviously quite a few of them never get the opportunity to breed. Also, they are very finicky breeders. They need sort of large hollows in very big trees. And if anything disturbs them around that site, they'll often abandon it and they're not mate for 10 years. So it is quite a problem for them, and that's one of the other reasons why they are quite endangered. But they're still an absolutely awesome creature to see. This morning, so there we go. We can track big cats and reptiles at the same time. So we also have seen the lion tracks. They are heading south on this road. But look at that. I'm going to try to get us a little bit closer. I think I know what that is. Do you, VM?
No idea.
So we're going to try get you a little bit closer. Hello.
Here we go. Have a look at the shape of the face. Look at how blunt that nose is. It's almost indistinguishable. The head is almost indistinguishable from the body. Now, of course, when we look at snakes, we don't necessarily, when we look at pictures of snakes, we don't necessarily go off color. And that's because there is such variation even within the same species. So even within a beaked blind snake on the next page, if you have a look, just have a close look at the shape of that face. I know the light's not perfect, but you can get an idea. But blind snake was a very, very good guess. Important to remember, blind snakes are totally harmless, not something that can hurt you in any way, shape, or form. However, they do look a lot, or can easily be mistaken for these guys. Now, it's the same with the purple gloss snake. I'm having a look at this one. The purple gloss snake is also very similar, and in fact has a very similar scale shape to this little guy. The big difference is stiletto snakes are fantastically venomous. So a very, very powerful cytotoxic, in other words, cell-destroying venom. Now, I just want to see, my snake book is here as well, and I know that that has a picture, but let me just see if they've got one in here. There we go, that's what I'm looking for. Have a look at this fang. This is a totally, can you see it there? That little tiny tooth sticking out? This is the reason why you should never ever play with blind burrowing or any other snake unless you are 100% certain that that is what it is. Because a stiletto snake, and obviously we don't play with snakes anyway, unless you are an expert, but a stiletto snake is responsible for most of the serious bites amongst herpetologists and snake catchers because they mistake them for a harmless burrowing or a blind snake, and they try and grab them behind the head. And the stiletto snake is the one species of snake that you absolutely cannot do that with because that fang actually faces sideways. And so all it has to do, if you've got normally a snake has to try and, I don't think that was the best demonstration, but you sort of get the idea, front-facing fangs. All the stiletto snake has to do is just go, chunk, and it stabbed the handler with its venom. Very nasty cytotoxic venom. Right, that all being said, let us go back to the page with the actual animal. And well done for those of you who guessed it. It's a tricky one. It caught me out completely. That one morning that I started when it was pouring with rain, that it was, sorry, I got a very itchy nose. It's the damp. The one where it was pouring with rain and we skidded around the corner to try and get the car back into undercover safely. All right, let me just try and figure out how my index works. I thought I could find the page, but I can't.
In the Milwaukee at Twin Dams, at the dam itself.
There we go. Oh, I got it, sorry. Here we go. So believe it or not, this is difficult to see, and this is why I said that it's difficult for us to judge based on color. This is what Brent was looking at. that very strange nose cap that when the giant legless snake takes on that black gloss in the dark is not very easy to see. But you can sort of see the difference in the shape of the face. And then if you look at the body size completely, you can get an idea. They're very... Now what you're looking for as well is quite a thick snake-like shape. They're not snakes, they are legless burrowing skinks, so related to the lizard family. And this is where the evolution of reptiles gets very interesting, because as we know, snakes, and I mean, how much does that look like a snake? As we know, snakes used to have legs. If you look at some of the older species, such as a python, you'll be able to see the residual legs, the little caudal stumps that sit right close to the tail, and that is where the residue of their legs is gone. Interesting. I mean, can you imagine? I think we can finish off with that book for now. Can you just imagine being the first biologist that went to, or the first herpetologist that actually said, guys, this isn't a snake, this is a lizard, or a type of lizard, this is a skink. Somehow I can imagine him being laughed out of the herpetologist symposium. Maybe I've just got a very skewed view of how such things work, but that's what's in my head.